for CDA. And he's going to speak to us a little bit about the program and about their grant program that they've got is going to have grant applications opening up soon, I believe. So, Kayla, do you want to say anything?
I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Kayla Ladke. I'm the Northeast Regional Field Specialist as well. So I may be a new face to some of you, but happy to be here.
All right. Sam, do you need anything else from us?
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Garth. And yeah, thank you for having me. And thanks everyone so much for joining. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the Noxious Weed program and the grants opportunity that we have coming up. And I think the conservation districts are really good. We really want conservation districts to apply for the grants. So I think I'm really excited to be here to talk to you guys. And yeah, without further ado, I'll share my screen here. Does that look good to everyone?
That looks good to me.
Awesome. So yeah, as Garth said, I'm Sam Sartwell. I'm the Noxious Weeds Specialist with the Noxious Weed Program with the Colorado Department of Agriculture. So, it's kind of basic, but I thought I'd want to just kind of start with talking about what is a noxious weed so everyone's on the same page. So a noxious weed is really been defined as an alien plant, so non-native plant that meets one or more of the following 4 criteria. So it's going to aggressively invade or is detrimental to economic crops or native plant communities, be poisonous to livestock, is a carrier of detrimental insects, diseases, or parasites. And tree of heaven is a really good example of this with spotted lanternfly, which is an insect that is not yet found in Colorado, but could be making its way here and would be pretty detrimental to crops around Colorado if it does. And yeah, more overall, just has a direct or indirect effect that is harmful to natural or agricultural ecosystems. Yep. So, why is it important to manage noxious weeds? So, noxious weeds alter the landscape. They compete with native plants for resources. They are very competitive because they are non-native, so they don't have as many natural competitors here. So they impact the base of the food chain by displacing a lot of these native plants, and that impacts the whole food chain. So native pollinators, wildlife, livestock, it can really start messing with everyone in the whole ecosystem. They can alter fire regimes, so leading to higher number of fires and higher intensity of fires. So cheatgrass is a great example of an invasive plant that can do this. They degrade the quality of trails for hiking and mountain biking. So there's a plant called puncture vine that creates these really sharp seed heads that has been known to puncture mountain biking tires on trails. They can go through a dog paw. As I kind of talked about before, they diminish suitable habitat for hunting and fishing by displacing some of that wildlife. And they also can make boating much harder by clogging rivers and streams. So they're definitely something you want to get on top of and manage before they turn into a bigger problem if possible. So the Noxious Weed Act defines what a noxious weed is. Noxious Weed Act came in to address some of these issues. So it also assigns all persons a duty to manage noxious weeds. It designated 3 different categories of noxious weeds, A, B, and C. It requires plans, boards, and it requires treatments of list A species and rights of ways. We here at the state delegate management powers to local jurisdictions, so counties and municipalities, and it provides these local jurisdictions a structure for enforcement. And kind of a side note there is that enforcement cannot occur unless the jurisdiction enforcing is treating their noxious weeds to the similar level that they are requiring. So that's kind of, as I'm going to talk to you in a bit with the grant process, this is one of the things that the grant kind of offers to try to help these jurisdictions to be able to manage their noxious weeds so that they can enforce if they choose to. It created the state advisory committee and the state weed coordinator position, and my position as well. And then creates the Noxious Weed Management Fund, which I'll talk about here a little bit more in a second. But before that, I wanted to just really briefly talk about the 3 lists. So list A are going to be not yet in the state or low enough prevalence to try and eradicate within the state. So these are going to be the rarest noxious weeds within the state, or ones that we think have a very high chance of making their way into the state. So eradication and prevention are going to be the 2 main strategies for list A species. List B species are already established in many parts of the state, and management plans are going to be determined by the county and by the data that we have on a county level. And so we really want to help with the different counties to create a management plan based on the data that works best. And that's either going to be to eliminate, contain, or suppress the species. List C species are widespread around the state, and local jurisdictions can determine management level for these species. So what I really wanted to talk to everyone here about is the Noxious Weed Management Fund. And our department oversees that. And for more information, we can look at the RFA for that. But before that, I really wanted to just kind of stress how excited I am to talk to everyone here about this, because we really think conservation districts are a great fit to apply for this grant. And, you know, if you're already managing noxious weeds or doing any work like that in the conservation district, this grant can really help supplement the work you're doing. And also, if you haven't applied yet, new programs that apply get bonus points in the review process. So we really want new programs applying, and yeah, I think conservation districts are really a great audience for that. So yeah, with that, let's go to the RFA here. I'm gonna stop sharing and then reshare. All right, I hope everyone can see the RFA there. Yeah, so let's get into the specifics of this a little bit. I kind of wanted to just give a high-level overview of it, and then if you're interested in more or have any questions, there'll be time for questions at the end. But yeah, and also please feel free to reach out to me or anyone in the department. We can go over it, more specifics. So the award period, so also, yeah, side note, this is last year's RFA, but we will be upgrading it or updating it soon to this year's. So stay tuned for that. It's all going to stay pretty much the same, just a little, the dates are going to change a little bit. Yeah, so the award period, so the time that the grant usually takes place is going to be April to June of the following year. So April is kind of when field season starts for a lot of these noxious weeds. That's when we're going to start the grant process. And then it generally they end kind of that same field season. So we have a lot of them that are ending here soon between October and December, but they can also go through June of the following year if you wanted to do some follow-up work in the spring and have that accounted for under this grant as well. So that's a good option. It gives a little bit more flexibility. So yeah, the program objectives with this is to really provide additional financial resources to entities that are engaged in noxious weed management efforts. So if that's you, we really want to help you. We want to produce measurable outcomes across the state for managing these invasive species. And we really want to assist new or recently established weed management programs, especially in regions where additional resources are needed. I'm going to talk about it a bit, I think, in a little here, but also we just really wanted to increase collaboration. So I think, excuse me, the conservation districts are great for that. So that's another reason we really want to target you guys. So yeah, last year about $700,000 was available for the Noxious Weed Fund. It's going to be pretty similar again this year. And then around $50,000 of the United States Forest Service state and private forestry funding is added on top of that. So that can be a little confusing if you're reading through this, like what's the difference between the funds? So I want to just chat about that for a second. Basically, the application is going to be the same. You're just going to, on your application, say how much, if any, of the money you're asking for would come from the U.S. Forest Service State and Private Forestry Fund. So that fund is really targeting lands that are close to Forest Service land, with the idea of keeping noxious weeds that might be close off of the land, but you cannot use it to actually manage Forest Service on the Forest Service land itself without at least talking to us first and making a plan. So a little bit about that is that for all the grants, a 1-to-1 match is required. If you're using money from the State and Private Forestry Fund, the match cannot come from federal sources. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. Eligibility, so local governing bodies is the primary focus of this grant, but so these are a lot of counties and municipalities, but other entities include conservation districts, nonprofits, organized private entities such as road associations and homeowner associations. So conservation districts, we really want to see more applications from conservation districts, and I think it could really help in your area with the noxious weed management. So yeah, scroll down here a little bit to the schedule of activities. Early November. So as I said, this is last year's dates, but they're going to be pretty similar this year. So early November is when we're going to put out the RFA release. So that's when we're going to open it and start receiving applications. It goes through the middle of December, and then that's when the deadline is. And then the evaluation period for them will be, middle to December to early February. And then March to May will be developing the statement of work, and the contracts could start in April. So yeah, as I said, I think we had last year about 1.2 million in applications with only about 750,000 to give out. So it can be a slightly competitive process. So I'd really advise, taking your time through the application and really trying to do your best and kind of following some of the things that the RFA is about to get to help make your grant more competitive. So about the grant itself, you need to fill out the application form, and these are all found on the website. It also involves a species table form. So this is going to be which species you're planning on treating and an estimated acreage for those species. And then it also asks how you are planning to treat. So I'll talk about that in a second as well, but we really like to see multiple different treatment methods for different species. And then there's also the budget spreadsheet. So that's basically just by line item, what are you planning to use the money for? And then at least one map illustrating the area you're planning to treat is necessary as well. And it has a little bit more detail about what we're looking for in those maps there as well. So yeah, you can reach out to me or Patty for any more questions. There's also a new person in the program, Emily, who would also be a great person to reach out to with any questions. And we'll get Garth maybe to send out our information. I'll post it here in a bit as well. So yeah, and it talks about here, if you do have any questions, you can email us with the subject line 2022 grant application question And then we post these in the Q&A section on the website. And this is something I really wanted to say is a great resource to look at. If you're thinking of applying, it's got a lot of common questions, and it's really worth checking out as you're filling out some of these forms. So also just wanted to say quickly, the how to upload documents has changed a bit. CDA is transitioning to a grant uploader software, but I don't think that's going to be quite in place by the time that we're accepting these grants. So most likely they're just going to be emailed to the Weeds at State email address. So yeah, we can provide that as well, but yeah, it's weeds at state.co.us. So a little bit more just about kind of the evaluation, what we're looking for to see. We really want to see measurable objectives and deliverables. We really like to see list A species on there. If you have list A species, it's really important to be managing them. Kind of what I was talking about with the lists before. These are species that have the potential to be very invasive. So we really want to manage them as soon as possible if you detect them in your area. The integrated weed management approach, this is really talking about using as many different ways of targeting these noxious weeds as possible. So maybe you're doing herbicide applications, and then maybe we can add in a biocontrol and work with the Palisade insectary for more information on that, or a mechanical control of mowing or cutting the seed heads and bagging them so that more seeds don't get into the seed bank, or cultural control of reseeding the area after. So really as many different ways that you can try to target and eliminate these noxious weeds, the more success you're going to have, and therefore the more competitive application it's going to make as well. Mapping is also really important with these species and with these grants. So we use EdMaps, which is a really great database. You can download a free profile. It has a phone app. It's pretty intuitive. It's really great to use, and you can just go out in the field, take a picture of the species, and it'll automatically actually pick up where you are, and then you can upload that. And it's really easy, and it's actually a great resource to look at too. If maybe you're not sure your area, what's around there, you can go onto EdMaps. That's eddmaps.com or .org maybe, and you can look at your area at the different counties, and you can see what's been mapped there. So kind of as I mentioned before, partnerships are really important. That's something that we really like to see, and I think something conservation districts could really do pretty well. You know, it's definitely worth reaching out to your local counties, municipalities, seeing if they're applying for the grant, talking to them about it. You know, maybe if you partnered with them, it could make their application more competitive and vice versa. So partnerships are really important. You know, noxious weeds don't really care about lines of, you know, who owns what property. So it's really important to work with everyone in the area and try to manage these together. Yeah, so I kind of talked about the list A species. We'll go through here. We really also like to see prevention and education components of the grant. So that's always a great thing to do. You know, maybe host something, education campaign, something like that. Get out there, talk to people. Yeah, list A species are very important to manage, list B species as well. And it's worth checking in your area. Sometimes the list B species have been elevated to list A level. So that's definitely worth checking. And yeah, list C species, still very important, great aspect of the grant to include. But generally, yeah, it's pretty, we like to see list A and B species as the main targets, with some list C if they're in your county is always great too. Yeah, so then quickly just talk about the reimbursable grant expenses. As I said before, all grants do need a one-to-one match. So actually, I think it says that a little bit lower too. But yeah, so these are kind of some of the things we're looking for to help fund with this grant. So wages for part-time, temporary, or seasonal employees. And actually something that's changing this year is that we're gonna allow these grant expenses to be paid to pay full-time employees that for direct time working on these grants. So we're hoping that can kind of help. I know hiring's been really hard around the state recently. So we're hoping by allowing it to be able to go towards full-time employees, maybe that'll make these jobs a little more desirable, a little easier to fill. But yeah, we really like to see the seasonal paying for seasonal employees. Yeah, and then all the other stuff kind of that we cover is good. Cost share, that's a good, that's another really good option. If you maybe aren't, as I said, you need the one-to-one match. If you maybe aren't, don't have a lot of money for that, you can offer cost shares, and the private landowners share can cost towards your match, if that makes sense. Yeah, so just go down a little bit. Matching expenses, one-to-one match is required. I think it talks about, yeah, limitations here. So matching funds cannot come from other state funding sources. I'm down here, unless approved by CDA prior. And eligible funding sources include local, federal, and private funds, and that's for the cost share I was talking about. And for the SPF projects, yeah, the matching fund sources cannot be federal. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about that. I also did just want to briefly go into the website and show you a little bit how to navigate that. So if you go to ag.colorado.gov, that's kind of the main CDA website. Under the conservation tab, you're going to scroll down to noxious weeds, and that's how you get to the noxious weeds page. And this has a lot of really great information. If you go to the grants and financial assistance tab there, that's where you can find all these documents. And actually, something I also wanted to say is the fruit brush kiosk is a really great funding opportunity right now too. We still have funding available. I highly would recommend suggesting it or signing up for it if that's something you think could work. These are pretty cool boot brush kiosks that go at trailheads, and just it's an educational campaign to get people to clean their boots and just to learn a little bit more about noxious weeds, because the seeds can transfer in the mud on boots and then be brought into new areas that way. So yeah, definitely worth checking that out. And here are all of the forms here. And as I said, these are all the 2022 forms. We'll get these updated soon and post them for the new year. And one other thing I want to say, if you scroll all the way down to really any of the pages, you can click newsletter sign up here, and that's going to bring you to this. The Noxious Weed program did launch a newsletter this past season. And so if you click the Noxious Weed program newsletter here, you can sign up for it if you're interested in the program and learning more about it. And with that, yeah, I really wanted to open it up for questions. And here, I'll go back to this here. And yeah, thanks so much again for having me. And I'd love to answer any questions.
Sam, thank you so much for that. Are there any questions? You can go ahead and unmute yourself or type something into the chat. Sam, I don't know if you had mentioned it, I might have missed it, but what sorts of funding amounts are are available? What's sort of the max or the minimum or any of that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So I said the total amounts around 750,000. The max we generally go up to would be like 150,000 would be the absolute max, because after that it gets a little more complicated as far as the grant process for larger grants. But you can really apply, you know, a couple thousand, whatever would help the program. You can go as low as you want. So yeah, that's kind of the range we generally see is pretty low. 5 to 10,000 in there, I think is a pretty good range. But yeah, if you're a pretty big conservation district, you have a lot of partners, it wouldn't be uncommon to go higher than that.
All right, do we have any more questions?
Sam, this is Kayla. I have a question. You had touched on partnerships really being key and conservation districts reaching out to their county to kind of bolster their applications. Do you have any other ideas of good possible partnerships outside the county? And if you could maybe speak a little bit more towards that capacity?
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so as I said, counties, municipalities, really great to partner with. You know, we also see, yeah, nonprofits in the area could be really good. Even other conservation districts could be good. Private landowners is another good one if you're doing like a cost share program, which is a really great program or a really great option. You can partner with kind of all these different private landowners to help them manage on their land and do like a one-to-one offset so that uh, their what they're paying can basically count as match on your side of the grant. So yeah, those are kind of some of the other main partnerships. But yeah, really any organization in the area that is interested, I think would be great.
Great, thank you. Other questions for Sam? And always feel free to reach out to Sam. You see his email on the screen there, and reach out to any of us as well. And we could connect you with some answers too, hopefully.
Yeah, and we will be sharing on the newsletter when we post these. As I said, it should be early November, but yeah, if you're also interested, reach out to me and I can, or Garth, or yeah, Kayla, we can make sure that you get notified when they're posted.
All right, I am not seeing any more. Oh, I just saw a question come up here. Kalisa.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, so when the grant information is sent out come here early November, is there going to be any personnel that we can reach out to like assist us in the grant writing, or like tips and tricks and things like that? Because I know like last year, I talked to Patty a little bit and she could only tell me so much because, you know, can't just give it away or anything of that sort. But is there going to be some people around that we could ask for tips and tricks and just kind of some things to help us if we are new to grant writing or just a little still trying to figure out the whole system?
Definitely, yeah. Thanks for asking that. And that's yeah, great question. And you know, so as I mentioned, I think on the RFA, there is a way where you can email us and you can say that, and then those questions will be posted. You know, kind of for the tips and tricks type of thing, a really great resource is that Q&A page on the website. that has a lot of that kind of stuff, commonly asked questions, you know. Yeah, and I really want to try to maybe do a webinar here in the future about how to do the grants, how to fill them out, some little tips like that we'll post to the website, you know. But yeah, you can definitely email us, reach out to us. We'll help as much as possible. We definitely want to make it, you know, as even as possible for everyone. But yeah, that Q&A website, and really I would say just go through the RFA and read it pretty well, read all the documents really well. Everything's pretty laid out in there pretty well, if you take the time to really read it. But I know it can feel a little confusing at first. It can feel a little overwhelming. But yeah, that's what I would recommend for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Yeah, because we've got a new district manager in, Kalisa, and then Gavin. I know you guys can't see us, but I'm here too. Yeah, I know last year it was my first year into the Noxious Weed program. It was my first time actually writing that grant out and getting into that. And then Kalisa, you know, she's new to the program as well. And I know like Los Animas County and Bent County, they both have been kind of kickstarting their own noxious weed programs and stuff. So yeah, yeah, thank you for that information. I think the Q&A and stuff, I think we'll all be able to collaborate really well on that. So awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I'm really glad that you're applying for it, and you know some other conservation districts that are. And yeah, so thank you. And I know it can feel a bit overwhelming to get kind of into the grant writing thing. And yeah, we really want to make it as easy as possible.
Well, Sam, thank you so much again. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing the coffee hour with us. So and just as a reminder to folks, we are going to have this recording posted onto our website as soon as we can get it up. So if you would like to go back and review some of that information, you can do that. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We're just a reminder for next week, we are going to have 2 coffee hours this month. So it'll be again Wednesday, 9 o'clock. We're going to have Gretchen Rank from the Conservation District Employees Association. She's going to be speaking with us a little bit about how to get involved with the Employees Association, what sorts of training they offer. And I do know that they are offering a training for district employees coming up in November at the CACD annual meeting. So hope to see you all there. And with that, I'll go ahead and close it up. So thanks, everybody.